Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. It is post-match reaction show time after Liverpool have just won a game of football. At the fifth time of asking, we have managed to not lose in the Premier League. Sheffield United fell by 2-0 after what was, I thought, actually a really good performance from Liverpool. I think if you are going to have one issue with it, and I'll get that out of the way before we get into all the positive things for the rest of the video, it's that Liverpool didn't score more. I thought we played very well. We created a lot of decent opportunities, maybe not too many fantastic chances, although there were opportunities, clear-cut ones for Liverpool to score more than just the 2 goals that they got. But in general, the way we played was very free-flowing. It was very difficult for Sheffield United to deal with, and it just felt like if we'd been really on it, you know, if this wasn't a team that was coming off the back of 4 straight losses in the league, then we may have scored, you know, 4 or 5 in this game. But under the circumstances, beggars cannot be choosers, and Liverpool can count themselves, you know, very, very pleased with the way that they played and the result that they got tonight as well. And that's a really positive thing as well. It was a good performance and it was a good result. We're not coming away going, oh, well, at least Liverpool played well and there's positive signs there, but we lost 1-0 to a jammy goal or anything like that. We've actually got 3 points on the board, and with it, a performance that feels like it could really kickstart our momentum going into this run-in, because we're now into the last third of the season. We know where we stand in terms of a top 4 battle. We know what we're going to have to do to get ourselves over the line and get that Champions League place. And on tonight's evidence, I know it's only Sheffield, and of course they were poor tonight as well, and they've been poor all season. It was no surprise really that Liverpool were the better team this evening, but the way we played as well and the fact that we got the goals was so encouraging that I think it has set us up quite nicely for the last few games of the campaign. But before we even begin to consider those, looking back on the performance tonight as a whole, obviously it's a good first half from Liverpool. I think it really showed what a whole week on the training ground can do for a side. It wasn't a team that was going through the motions, that was trying the same things again and again, expecting different results, you know, definition of insanity and all that. It was a team that had changed, not fundamentally, you know, we hadn't reinvented the wheel. It was still recognisably a Jurgen Klopp Liverpool side, and it was still, the players were still playing the way they normally do. You know, Curtis Jones was direct, looking to get at players. Salah wanted to be in the box and create goal scoring chances for himself. Sadio Mane was looking to take defenders on one-on-one. Thiago was spraying passes, everything like that. You know, Trent and Robertson are getting forward, looking to get involved with the attack from those wide areas. It was still recognisably Liverpool, but there were little tweaks here and there that showed a little bit of extra edge that I think hasn't been there over the last few games. And it was a very fluid formation as well. I think that was a real positive sign, and again a sign that they've had that time on the training ground. They don't have to kind of stick to their kind of fixed roles. They have a little bit more freedom of expression because they've obviously worked on attacking routines going forward, on different kind of combinations of play, interchanging of passing and stuff like that, and the positioning as well of the players. I thought Robertson it was fascinating how far forward he was a lot of the time, and the same goes for Trent. I know they were talking on the Sky commentary about how Robertson was further forward and Trent almost dropped into a back 3 at times, almost to mimic the formation of Sheffield United, to match them up, mirror it, and therefore kind of neutralise the threat of their fullbacks and stuff like that. But Trent himself was getting really forward as well, so it was quite ballsy from Liverpool in a way, and I really like to see that, you know, an acknowledgement of, well, okay, if you're going to put that many men behind the ball, we'll put that many men in front of the ball, even if it means kind of going against common sense in terms of getting both fullbacks to bomb on at the same time and not really leaving a midfielder back. I thought it was interesting how far forward Gini popped up at times as well. He wasn't really screening the back line that much. It was very much left to Kabak and Phillips to sort themselves out. Although when we did come under pressure, when Sheffield got the ball and came at us, they weren't left out on their own. They weren't kind of hung out to dry. The other players did get back and help them out. So it was a very disciplined performance from Liverpool as well. They knew when to push forward and when to come back, and the fullbacks were very, very key to that. What was really interesting about Robertson was not how far forward he got in either in general or in comparison to Alexander-Arnold, but how narrow he was as well, he wasn't just looking to get to the byline, and I think a lot of that came from the presence of Curtis Jones on the left side of midfield as well. Robertson was popping up in the box an awful lot in central areas, sometimes quite deep and central as well, almost like a sort of more of a wing 10, if you're familiar with that idea. You know, not a number 10 who sits in the hole and is very central and doesn't really move around too much, but a number 10, a creative player who will pop up in that space occasionally, but is also happy getting wide a little bit and also getting into wide positions within the box to be either a goal threat or looking to set up the final pass across the face of goal for a clear goal scoring chance or something like that. But it was great from Andrew Robertson to see that swashbuckling performance from him. Obviously he gets those chances as well that come from his positioning, and in true Robertson style, he doesn't put any of them in the back of the net. That's no real surprise there. I would like to think that maybe if Trent had been doing something similar today and getting into those kind of positions, he probably would have come away with maybe 1 or 2 goals and a few more assists as well from the game. But it was great to see from Robertson, and it's facilitated by Curtis Jones's presence as well. I spoke before the game about how we may see him in that kind of left wing role. I was expecting it to be with Firmino then coming out of the starting 11. That obviously was not the case, but Jones was dropping wide every now and then, getting into those areas. Made it a bit difficult to watch as well, because it was sometimes difficult to work out who was who between Robertson and Jones, and Firmino kind of popped up in that space as well. But it was really good to see that kind of fluidity. It also opened space up for Sadio Mane as well. If you've got Robertson and Jones who are also comfortable taking up the same positions, whether it's out wide or cutting inside or actually getting into the real thick of it within the 18-yard box, if you've got other players around you who can do that comfortably as well and are going to look like they are threatening to do that on a regular basis, it creates more space for Sadio Mane and allows him to do that thing I was mentioning earlier of what he does best, trying to get up defenders, getting at defenders, standing them up one-on-one, getting round them and stuff like that, that being really progressive and aggressive when he drives forward with the ball. So that was clearly something that had been worked on, somewhere that we really reaped the rewards of being able to work through these routines on the training ground. And like I said, not reinventing the wheel, not changing formation necessarily or making an upheaval in terms of personnel or playing style or anything like that, but just making the little adjustments to what was clearly not a completely broken system. As I said, Liverpool have been playing well over the last few weeks. It was a system that was still doing well. It just wasn't quite producing the goods necessary to win games at a Premier League level, and the tweaks have now been made, the work has been done on the training ground, and hopefully that can continue throughout the season. There's more breaks between games now, so we can actually be a bit more kind of pragmatic and horses for courses, because it was clear as well that the way Liverpool played today was very much oriented towards Sheffield United, oriented towards working out how to break through their lines, get through their formation, take advantage of the space that is left from the way that they set up, because they have a very unique setup. It's different to other teams and it has worked wonders for them in the past. But if you are very, very clever and you're on your game, then there will be spaces for you to exploit, and Liverpool were allowed the time this week to work through how they were going to exploit that. And it also, of course, understandably gives them a bit more energy. They've had the time off, the ability to rest, that they can implement the plan to 100% effectiveness. They're not playing at 80 or 90%. They are able to play at full throttle, and as we all know, that is so important to the way that Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool plays. So it was a brilliant performance from Liverpool tonight. Individual players, so many of them were fantastic. We've already talked about Robertson, sort of both in the context of a good performance from him and also how his positioning and running informed the overall dynamic of the team, especially going forward. Other players as well, Curtis Jones, already mentioned him. The kid is fantastic. I thought he was integral to so many of the good things that Liverpool did tonight as well, especially in the box. Having a midfielder that wants to be level with the front three is so important. We haven't had that since Coutinho, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. A midfield of Fabinho, Gini Wijnaldum and Jordan Henderson just working as a functional engine room has its benefits. But there are certain games and certain circumstances, especially when a lot of those midfielders like Fabinho and Henderson are left on the treatment table rather than out on the pitch with the rest of the team, where you do need a midfielder that's actually going to be a bit more gung-ho, that wants to score goals, that wants to be in the thick of the action, and has the bravery and the audacity and the kind of arrogance that you need to take the ball in those tight areas in the box and think, you know what, I'm just going to produce something magic. And Curtis Jones has that cockiness, that assuredness about him that is so key to the way he plays. And it is just a wonderful dynamic to have. It really shakes things up in that Liverpool midfield. Like I said, what we had before worked, but change sometimes isn't a bad thing, just to refresh things a little bit, and also to give the opposition something else to think about. And then the goal as well is brilliantly taken. That is another brilliant asset he has. He is not shot shy. He had the most shots of any Liverpool player today. He had 4 of them. He had 3 shots on target, which is also the most shots on target of any Liverpool player. So he was looking to, you know, really try and get the ball in the back of the net. So he deserves to come away with that goal, and it's a very assured finish. I didn't celebrate it when it happened because to me it looked like the ball had gone out. Thankfully it stayed in, and the VAR confirmed that, although of course the referees on the pitch actually got a decision right there as well. For once, it was a great finish from Jones under pressure when everyone else is sort of a little bit thrown by the ball almost going out. He just retains his composure, slots that ball away. It's wonderful to see. It caps off what was a very good performance from him, and an influential performance as well. He deserves to be the player that broke the deadlock. He deserves to be the player that takes the headlines, the player that people talk about and say Curtis Jones helped win that game for Liverpool. Maybe not single-handedly, but certainly I think he's in with a shout of man of the match. Personally, I would either give it to him or Andrew Robertson, and that is so brilliant to see for a young lad who's only just broken into the side. We spoke about his arrogance just now. That is reflected in how he likes to take games by the scruff of the neck, and it is what is making him such a brilliant asset for Liverpool going forward, and a player who you really feel like can not just be part of this squad, not just be a youngster who gels in with the team and fits in and is a viable option for Liverpool, but someone who can really make a difference with this running towards the end of the season. So that was great to see, not just the goal, but the overall performance from Curtis Jones. It's nice to see a goal from Roberto Firmino, if you will. Obviously, he misses that chance in the first half with the save from Ramsdale. I think it is poor from him, if we're being honest. I don't want to get bogged down in it too much now because Liverpool won, and he comes away with a pseudo goal, if you will. It's an own goal, obviously, but that chance in the first half, the way the goalie commits to going low so early, he gets down, and you just think Firmino on his day, not even another centre forward or Mane or Salah, but Firmino of a couple years ago, or a Firmino who just believes in himself a bit more, probably dinks that finish, probably sees Ramsdale get down low and thinks, oh, all right, I'll just lob it over you then. But you just feel like when he's through on goal, Mane and Salah, they have this thing where once they're in one-on-one, it's tunnel vision. They don't just think they're going to score, they know they're going to score, and that showed in the Leipzig game when Mane gets that one-on-one chance and when Salah gets it, you just know they're going to score. And Firmino feels like the exact opposite. When he's through on goal, it looks like he's already worried and thinking, oh God, what am I going to do? What if this goes wide? Oh, I'm going to feel like a muppet and stuff like that. And that's reflected in the kind of half-convicted way with which he takes those shots. He doesn't look to place that in a corner. He doesn't look to just blast it. He doesn't look to dink it over the goalie. He kind of does a combination of all three, and that's what allows Ramsdale to make the save. He then does very well for the goal that we do score, the one that seals the 3 points. It's a shame that he's not going to get it, although, if we're being honest, that shot is going miles wide, possibly even for a throw-in. But sometimes you need moments like that, and it is good work from him to create the chance, to drive through that Sheffield defence, to have the confidence that he didn't necessarily have in the first half, to say, you know what, like Curtis Jones style, I'm going to take this ball, I'm going to take you all on, and we'll see what happens, and we'll see who comes out with it at the end of it. And he comes away with the ball after getting through the Sheffield defence, and, you know, that's something that we want Liverpool players to do more. We don't want them to pass from side to side and probe their way through a defence. We want them to just pick the ball up and go at them hammer and tongs. That is what has made this Liverpool team special over the last few years, a combination of precision passing and brute force, and Firmino showed that that is still within his character with the way that he went at that goal scoring chance. And hopefully that is a bit of a kickstarter for him. You look back at, like, going all the way back to Peter Crouch at the start of his Liverpool career. His first goal after, what was it, like 19 games without scoring since he signed for the club was probably even an own goal as well. It was a long-range shot. It was a bit of a P-roller. It bounces wildly off a defender and loops over the goalkeeper in slightly similar circumstances. Who knows if that one was going wide, but it's another one where if that deflection doesn't happen, the ball probably doesn't end up in the back of the net. But sometimes you need them to go in off someone's backside. Sometimes you need, you know, Firmino to score a goal where it just deflects off of, I don't know, his knee or something like that, and it ends up in the back of the net. You need those moments to give yourself a little bit more belief and to take the monkey off your back as well, get your mojo back, and just kind of relax you a bit more. You get the feeling if that chance in the first half came after he makes the second goal, maybe he's much more assured about it and he slots the ball away. Hopefully we're proven right over that over the next few games and he gets some more chances, scores some more goals and becomes once more the asset that we know he can be for Liverpool, because he is a good player. We all know that. And he showed tonight, even though he missed those chances, that in build-up play especially, he can still be a real asset for Liverpool. So if he can just get that relaxed kind of approach to taking on shots that he had earlier on in his Liverpool career, then like I said, he'll be a much better player for us once again. So going forward, everything Liverpool did I thought was really, really encouraging today. At the back as well, great to see Adrian get a clean sheet. It wasn't 100% assured, you know, there was still some slight squeaky bum moments, especially on set pieces. You get the feeling that we have regressed a little bit there, that there is a slight risk that things could go wrong, although thankfully none of that transpired today. You've got the own goal from Kabak that gets ruled out for offside as well. You need a bit more communication there. Jurgen Klopp on the touchline was demanding that straight afterwards as well, telling Adrian and Ozan Kabak to talk to each other a little bit more. I was pleased with Nat Phillips' performance as well. A real old-fashioned centre-half. We all know that by now. Loves to win the ball in the air. Loves to be aggressive in terms of winning the ball back. Stepped out of defence a few times as well, which I thought was really good. When Sheffield United did get the ball away, we need to recycle it quickly. That's how you break down a team that is sitting deep. You've got to be so fast in terms of how you turn it back round and attack them again. You've got to wear them down, and your centre-halves can be very important to that. It's why we've suffered without people like Matip, Gomez and Van Dijk, and to a lesser extent Fabinho as well after he stepped in. You need players who read those moments where the ball is cleared and are there to it before anyone else and know what they're going to do to recycle it. And there are a couple of moments where Phillips stepped out, got the ball, played the pass, recycled it and got Liverpool going again. And that is really encouraging as well, because we know he's a good old-fashioned centre-half and all that, but there are still some lingering doubts over whether or not he maybe is just not quite the right player for Liverpool. He's a good player, but he maybe doesn't have the traits that suit this back line. And listen, going forward into next season and even further beyond that, maybe that is still the case, but there was some evidence today that he can still do a very decent job in that role. So all things considered, a really encouraging performance in Liverpool, something that we can build on as well. You get the feeling that there were signs there that things are starting to click. Certain players are finding their groove as well. Curtis Jones is carving out a real niche for himself in this Liverpool side. Thiago is becoming a much more well-fitted cog within the machine. Maybe that Firmino non-goal will give him a bit of momentum as well. So, and of course, 3 points, which has been very, very hard to come by over the last few weeks. So that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know what you think about that match down in the comments below. Apart from that, if you enjoyed the video as well, hit that like button down there. Hit that subscribe button as well if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days. Don't forget to follow at LSU Focus TV on Twitter. And I'll be back soon with the pre-match content for the Chelsea game. Until then, bye for now.